Mark Shuttleworth made a shock announcement on the 5th of April that Canonical were abandoning mobile convergence and would therefore cease funding development of the Unity desktop. Ubuntu 18.04 was to see the return of Gnome as the default desktop. Some people were happy with the news, but there were quite a number of people who were rather saddened by it. Despite all criticism against Unity from the noisy minority, there was a silent majority who did enjoy using it. In fact, Gaming on Linux carried out a small survey and found that Unity was the third most popular desktop. Ubuntu with GNOME Desktop will be very different in terms of layout and behaviour to Unity. The Unity launcher will be gone, as will the global menu, heads-up display or HUD, and the easy ability to search for files in the dash. Just because funding for Unity has ended, it does not mean the desktop will vanish. For example, Canonical pulled funding from Ubuntu some years ago, yet the distro is going strong, having found new funding from Blue Systems. However, I think that getting new financial backing for Unity could be difficult, since Canonical stood the most chance of making convergence work in Linux. Yet they failed to turn a profit due to lack of interest in the market. But it does not mean the community can't pick up the project and take it forward, and that is exactly what has happened for the newer Unity 8 desktop. In fact, it has been forked twice. The first fork, called YUnit, is focusing on the desktop, and the other fork, UBports, is focusing on mobile. Both forks have significant work to carry out, as Unity 8 was some way from being a finished product when Canonical pulled the funding. For one thing, Unity 8 is entwined with the Mir display server, which unfortunately never received support from any of the major graphics card companies, and that forced Canonical to develop the entire display system themselves, which I suspect was no small undertaking. As for Unity 7, the desktop which we have used for some years on the Ubuntu desktop and laptop computers, well, it uses Compiz and GNOME plugins, and there have been no forthcoming forks, although Canonical have said that Unity 7 will remain in repositories. Great, so no problem then. Well, not exactly. Unity 7 with Compiz has not really been entirely stable, and that's as things stand now. What happens when progression happens with GNOME GTK, the kernel, and X11? Oh, and Compiz doesn't work with the Wayland display server, so it is stuck with the ancient X11. Who can say what will happen? Maybe things will be okay, but I'm going to guess at some point Unity 7 will fail with the newer versions of Ubuntu. The current supported versions of Unity 7 are in the long-term support releases of Ubuntu 14.04 and 16.04, which are supported until 2019 and 2021 respectively. And I suppose I should mention that at time of recording it is also supported in the interim release of Ubuntu 17.04, but that is the final version. So 4 years left with an officially supported version of Unity. But won't the system be old and stale after so many years? Well, you can upgrade the kernel using the hardware enablement stack, and also utilise third-party Launchpad repositories to install fresher, newer software onto your computer. Okay, let us look at the alternative, having a Unity-like styled desktop from another distribution. For the past 3 years, I have been using a Unity-like style in KDE, and I absolutely love it. I have the top panel shrunk to the right-hand side, and I allow applications to display underneath it, thereby maximising vertical space. The application dashboard is very fast, responsive, and I would say superior to the Unity Dash. It can search for both applications and documents. Results for documents can be found with just one single letter or number as the search term. The left-hand panel is set up in the same style as the Unity launcher, and you have the same behaviour in launching or switching applications with the Super or Windows key and numerical keys. The only thing I miss is the heads-up display, but I believe that KDE Plasma will see a HUD implemented in a future version. The KDE Qt applications are different to GNOME GTK applications, and at this point I will annoy GNOME users by stating that, in my humble opinion, the Qt applications are superior. Honestly, it would not be so bad if Gnome didn't keep removing features with each release. Although I suppose some would say simplified. I say they are nothing but a hollowed out husk of what they used to be. Dolphin is one of the best file managers available in any OS. Kate's text editor comes with fancy code highlighting and also a scroll bar which can allow you to zoom into segments of your code further down the page without actually scrolling to that point. Clementine is one of the prettiest music players. I could go on, but there are so many Qt applications to choose from and development is happening at an aggressive pace. A Unity-like style is achievable in Gnome with the use of several add-ons. At least if you like the GTK applications from Ubuntu, then they will be available and working natively in the Gnome desktop. A global menu is in development, and there is also a HUD called Plotinus, which is also in development. When I tested out Plotinus, it only worked in some GTK applications and actually failed in Firefox and Inkscape because the activation key clashed with existing keyboard shortcuts. The application launcher can find both files and documents, although in my experience it heavily favoured applications as search results, to the point that I sometimes had to type in the full document name before results would appear. As I mentioned, the GTK applications are the same in Ubuntu, so I won't discuss them any further. There are other desktop options, for example Cinnamon Desktop from Linux Mint, which can be turned into a very nice looking Unity style. The applications look very similar to Gnome, but tend to have more features as they were forked from earlier in the GTK3 development. For example, Nemo File Manager still retains split-screen browsing and typehead search. The application launcher in Cinnamon allows you to find both documents and applications. However, there is a caveat in that the document searcher only looks for previously opened documents. Unity, Plasma and Gnome searchers will search for documents on the system regardless of whether they've been opened or not. But if it's too much effort to customize a desktop, then you could go for a point-and-click desktop switcher, for example Zorin, Ubuntu MATE or LXLE. I think the Unity style in Zorin was only in the paid-for version. It's been a long time since I last looked at LXLE, so things might have changed with the distro. Let's look at the other option, Ubuntu MATE. In my last review of Ubuntu MATE 1704, the Mutiny, Unity-styled desktop, was rather unstable. However, the Ubuntu MATE developers will be investing time and resources into improving the desktop for Ubuntu 1710. I expect we will see a better functioning global menu, HUD and improved launcher. The applications look as though they fell out of GNOME Classic desktop. Well, put it this way, if you used Ubuntu 12.04 or before, it will take you right back to those days. They have at least advanced on from GTK2 to GTK3, yet retains the classic look and plentiful older features. Caja File Manager, like Nemo, has split-screen browsing and typehead search, but also has an additional feature of customizing folder colors. I don't know if the launcher will be able to find documents, I'm going to guess not, but who knows how much things will change in the next few months. So what is the best option? Well, unfortunately, there is no perfect solution. It is a shame that the global menu in KDE does not work with GTK apps, and the Plotinus HUD in GNOME does not work with Qt apps. It seems both desktops fail to work properly with applications from their opposite number. This was a feature that Unity managed very well. Whichever way you look at it, both Gnome and KDE Plasma desktops take quite a bit of effort to turn into a Unity style. My tutorial videos for each are a similar length, with KDE being slightly longer to demo, although it does have more features to customize, and I got distracted showing how to improve the font rendering for GTK apps. Have a look at some of the videos on my channel. I've done reviews of Gnome, KDE Plasma, Cinnamon and MATE desktops, as well as another 20 plus desktops that we have available in Linux. I'll leave a few links in the video description. If you like my videos, then please consider being a Patreon and support Quids Up. You can pledge as little as $1 a month, which is just $12 a year, or you can pledge a little bit more. Every little bit does help, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and as always, I will see you later.